Hello everyone, welcome to the archive. I am your instructor, the Dream Keeper, and today I will be telling you about Kanjigar, the greatest troll hunter. Going over his lore, character, plus his impact on others, and theories on hints in the lore. You can also count this as my Christmas special. As we come to Father Christmas's Day, I thought to talk about the most renowned father of the setting. Before we begin though, remember to like, comment and subscribe, as well as check out the gaming channel, where we have begun LEGO Fortnite. If that interests you, check it out, and now, let's get into it. Kanjigar's life as a child are, like most, unknown. But this time, we do know the name of his father, Taragar, who together lived with the society of Dwoza trolls in the lands of Great Britain. Here, Kanjigar would meet a female troll named Balustra, however you say it, and together had a son, the infamous Draal the Deadly. As the wars between Gunmar and King Arthur raged on, Kanjigar and his family would continue to dwell in Dwoza until they were rallied together to take up arms against Gunmar in his attempt to bring about the Eternal Night, where he and his son Draal would fight and help banish Gunmar to the Darklands. After the fight, two groups of trolls formed. Some would remain in Europe to stay home, while the rest went off to seek a heartstone for them to live for themselves. One of those who remained behind was Kanjigar's wife, Balustra. It's unknown if she is still alive in the current day, as trolls can't survive without the life-giving power of the Hearthstone. It's left a mystery as far as I can tell. Even with his wife staying behind, Kanjigar and his son would follow their elder, Vendel, and the troll hunter, Dea the Deliverer. While in the construction of a boat to sail off to the Promised Land, Bular, Gunmar's son, would attack and drive Dea into the sea, where she would be turned to stone. She bought the trolls enough time though to escape. However, this inspired something in Kanjigar that would come in time. Over the next few centuries, Kanjigar would be fascinated by the troll hunters as they rose and fell, watching and listening to what they did and what they should have done. One day, Kanjigar would be chosen as the new troll hunter in the year 1620, meaning he indeed held the amulet for almost 400 years. And they really went through a lot of trolls in 500 to 600 years in order to fill the Hero's Forge. Goodness. Kanjigar would prove to be the mightiest and even the best troll hunter to ever live. Kanjigar would go on many missions to protect the world, and even an encounter with the royals of Acaridian 5 to safeguard and protect Galen's core. With the increasing danger Kanjigar would find himself in over and over, he began to distance himself from his son in order to protect him and dissuade him from following his example. A rift would begin to grow between the two. Draal was a capable warrior, but young and prideful for a troll, and I don't think Kanjigar could ever forgive himself if something happened to him. Don't worry, we know.
My friend. Draal, it has been my honor. Flashback.
Kanjigar would continue to serve as the protector of troll kind until the amulet would warn him of his impending death, and reports would come in that Bular was spotted, connecting the dots that today was the day he would die. He went to Blinky and Arg, those that had trained him and were his friends, bantering about the times they had, going to his son and saying his final farewell. Kanjigar would face Bular on the surface, a back and forth battle that went on the whole night till the morning the next day. Tired, Bular offered to spare him if he gave up the amulet. Stubborn to the end, he continued to fight. He eventually fell back to the bridge, where he would be surprised and knocked onto his back. Bular would pin him down and force him into the sun. Wounded, Kanjigar would tell Bular that the amulet will find another champion, and fell into the sunlight, killing Kanjigar the Courageous. This was not the end for our merry fellow, as in death his soul was sent into the amulet and appeared in the void, watching the new Trollhunter, James Lake Jr. And after defeating Bular, Kanjigar thought it time to reveal himself to Jim and bring him into the void, explaining that here, troll hunters of the past would counsel those who came after. In some cases, they were impressed with his actions. Kanjigar himself was angry, as Jim had gotten his son involved and severely wounded. Not only this, but they knew of his plan to invade Gunmar's prison to save Enrique. Over the next few weeks, the council would try to advise Jim on what is important as a troll hunter, and tell him to leave this selfish desire to save one child and put the rest of the world at risk. But when Angor would come, Jim would ask if they had anything on him that he could use against him. Kanjigar explained that those troll hunters killed by Angor are lost forever and absorbed into himself. Once the Battle of Trollmarket was ended by Angor's death, Kanjigar would appear to Jim and his team, congratulating them on their efforts, and realize that he was stronger thanks to them, but that a time will come when he will have to do things alone. Draal would call to his father, who apologized for pushing him away, so proud of the troll he had become, before disappearing in a cloud of forgotten heroes. Later, Jim would decide to go into the Darklands himself to protect his friends from this suicide mission. Kanjigar could only watch as evil took root in Trollmarket, before receiving a vision of Jim's team saving him. Yet it could only happen if Arg was brought back to life. And once this was done, Kanjigar would call out to Arg and bring him to the void, inhabiting his body and returning to life. Returning from the void, he would greet his old friends, his predecessor's friends, and reunite with his son. Kanjigar would lead the team out of Trollmarket and to Killerhead Bridge, explaining his vision to them in how it could only be successful if they followed his direct instructions. He himself could not go, as he must use his remaining power to open the bridge, and keep it open long enough to get Jim out of there, saying farewell and good luck to the next troll hunters. Even with those explicit instructions, Kanjigar's vision would be false and lead to Gunmar's freedom. Slowly, he would watch his troll market was turned into a fortress of Gunmar, and see those he was meant to protect turned into slaves or killed. But in the final battle of the show, Kanjigar would return alongside his predecessors, holding off their oldest enemy, Morgana, to buy time for Jim to defeat Gunmar. The next while, Kanjigar would be sidelined until the end of Season 2 of Three Below, where he would guide the King and Queen in waiting, Azure and Krell, alongside Arg, Toby and Varvatos, revealing the whereabouts and charge of Galen's core before disappearing into the void once again. Whew, now that was a lot to talk about. Probably the longest I have gone on about a character for a while. Now that we have his lore in order, let's talk about his character. Kanjigar is someone who fully embraced what a troll hunter was meant to be. Heroic, good-natured, but hard and distant at the same time. Kanjigar was renowned as the greatest troll hunter to ever live by all who remember him. By those who know him, though, he seemed to be very distant from them. His own son was left alone for his protection, and while Blinky and Arg had respect for him and missed him, they didn't seem to be bothered or really affected too much by his passing after his death. Kanjigar's worth was measured on what he meant to others as a reliable and good hero, not by those who were considered his friends and family. Draal was scarred by his father's lack of trust in him, leading him to want to be the troll hunter and build a reputation as the strongest warrior who ever lived. And when his destiny was denied, he sought vengeance from the one who took his perceived destiny. If you didn't realize who I was referring to, this story between Kanjigar and Draal is strikingly similar to Shifu and Tai Lung. Unlike Tai Lung, Draal was never pushed by his father to become a hero, but instead teach and rely on himself, believing that with all the work he had put in to become a great warrior, that the amulet would choose him. Where they're similar is how they react, the denial at their destiny, and what they did to try and get it back. Where Draal is better is when he is offered a chance to be redeemed. He doesn't go all in and let himself die for his pride, or give in to the darkness that had taken him, but instead took Jim's hand, finally finding someone he can talk, banter, and be friends with. Doing something Kanjigar would never do. In a surprise twist of fate, by pushing everyone away, it allowed Jim to bring them together and make each other stronger and fulfill their destiny. Speaking of fate, Kanjigar had a weird connection to the amulet, receiving visions and warnings through its power. Merlin's power, Morgana's power. Due to the fact Kanjigar embodied how a troll hunter should be, Merlin possibly granted Kanjigar future sight and allowed him to see moments in the future, to plan and progress his own plans. This could be how he knew he was going to die, and what Jim was going to do after Angor's death. This is a bit sus, though, as Kanjigar and the Council of Trollhunters had constantly berated and discouraged the idea of Jim going into the Darklands. So, why would Kanjigar tell Jim that he would have to face something alone? Perhaps Morgana influenced his mind to push Jim to go and lead to her own freedom. Or maybe it was Merlin who predicted that these line of events would cultivate in his freedom. What about Kanjigar's vision of saving Jim? Was this also a way to keep Jim alive while also setting things into motion, forcing Merlin's discovery and later awakening? Whatever the answer is, it is clear that Kanjigar had a deep connection to the energies of the amulet, and granted specific visions in order to further the machinations of Merlin. This makes Kanjigar a fearsome foe, and one of the most powerful beings in Tales of Arcadia. Heck, his own death may have been on purpose, in order to pass the amulet on to Jim. Was it a coincidence that Kanjigar happened to fall on the exact spot that Jim and Toby took every day to school? Maybe. Just another theory to add to the pot. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope this video is what you were looking for at this time of year. I wish you a Merry Christmas and the glory of Merlin be with you always.